Hello and welcome. I'm Dawson Plume reporting for Tomahawk Talk newspaper. Today I'm interviewing Charles Jackson, who served in the Vietnam War. First of all, Mr. Jackson, we'd like to thank you for your service and I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
You mean present day or when I was drafted?
Like when you were growing up.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on a farm, you know, from the whole time I was a kid. And I loved that kind of stuff when I was a farmer, being able to, you know, all the animals. And then back in mid-60s, the Conservancy condemned all the property and took our farm back, I think it was 68, you know. So then that's when we moved out here to Chalk Hill. And I only lived out here about a year, then I was drafted into the Army in 1969, you know.
Now, how old were you, Mr. Jackson, when you were drafted?
I was 19.
And what was boot camp like?
It was rough and scary. I'd never been away from home before, you know, and that's the first time I was ever away from home and didn't know anybody. You know, everybody's a stranger. And at that time, the DIs treated you pretty rough, you know what I mean? And, but we all made it through it, you know.
And what were you thinking when you got the news that you're going to be shipped out to Vietnam?
Well, you always have a thought in your mind whether you're going to make it back home or not, you know what I mean? That was my first thought. But, and then when I first got over there, the first day or two in the field, you're real scared, you know what I mean? Once you get fired upon, and then after a few weeks of it, then it just gets to be customary, and you just learn to have to live with it. That's all, you know.
When your parents heard the news about you when you were going over, what were their reactions?
Well, my mother, she was really heartbroken. She didn't like it. My dad, of course, he was in World War II, and he told me, whatever they asked you to do, you do it, but don't volunteer for nothing, you know. So I just took his advice, and I survived through it.
And what was your first reaction when you saw Vietnam?
It was real scary. That when I first landed, we were just getting off the plane, and then fighter jets was taking off, and you could hear bombs going off in the background, you know what I mean? And I thought, oh, what are we in for now, you know? And the place, Vietnam, the whole place smelled bad, you know, it was a bad smelling area. And it was kind of scary to start with, you know. Yeah.
Do you have any stories from your service over in Vietnam?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of. One time we was in a battle and we was pinned down and we had snipers in the trees, and one of my buddies right beside me got hit, and then had another one up in front of me, up to the right of me, got hit. And I kept telling them guys, I said, find them snipers, where are they at, where are they at, you know. And they finally helped pinpoint them, and then I was able to shoot two of them out of the trees, you know what I mean. And then had one of my other buddies, he got hurt real bad, and seeing him with, you know, with all the blood and stuff, and have to help put him on a medevac chopper, you know, that's kind of a gory thing too, you know. When I first got signed to the company, they put you out there, and then of course they put the new guy walking point, you know. So I walk. Of course you have to take turns. There's usually two guys walk point because you have to cut your way through with a machete, you know, it's so thick. So one guy go for a couple hours, and he moves back, and you go up and cut for a couple hours. Well, I did that for about a week, and every step you took, you just thought it was going to be your last, you know, because you're the first man going.
Right.
And Lieutenant come, he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "Well," I said, "this walking point," I said, "it just feels like every step's going to be the last, you know." And one of the machine gunners was going home, and he said, "Do you want to try that?" I said, "Give her here," you know. So then once I got it, I couldn't get rid of it, you know what I mean? They wouldn't let me give it up. Even after I made sergeant and I was squad leader, Lieutenant made me carry that thing the whole time. I carried it for 11 months.
What is one memory from the service that will always stick with you?
Well, just all the buddies that you had over there. I mean, you didn't know anybody, but it was a real. Once you got in there with them, there was a real tight group. You know, no matter how bad things would get, they was always there to help you, or you was to help them. You know what I mean? A new guy or that, and it's almost like a family thing. Once you over there, it's just a family-oriented bunch of guys almost. You know, and then just be able to survive and get home was the main thing. You know.
And when were you discharged, Mr. Jackson?
Discharged April of 1971.
And can you tell us what you did after the war?
Well, I went back into road construction. I was driving truck and running equipment for, I probably did that for 9 or 10 years. And then I got into the carpentry business. I worked for a couple contractors, and then for the last 25 or 30 years before I retired, I went in business for myself as a carpenter.
Do you have any last comments that you want to be in the video?
Well, I just say all these young guys that's going into the service today, I appreciate for all they do, and I hope that they don't have to go through some of the stuff that we did and the way we was treated when we come home. I'm thankful that they're treated a lot better than we were.
Thank you for sharing your experiences today, and thank you for your service, Mr. Jackson.
All right, thank you.